Hello and welcome to A View from the Bridge. My name is Joel Lammy. Delighted today to be joined by Ian from the, okay, so I get this correct, Hants Fan Podcast. I'm having fun with my S's tonight. Ian, how are you? How you doing? And as a Hampshire fan right now, you're keeping a level head.
Yeah, I'm doing well despite the circumstances of Hampshire being at a particularly low ebb at the minute. But on the train into London this morning to work, I was beginning to think about the 2015 season, which was the last time that Hampshire lost three in a row in the championship. And that particular season, we had a change of captain immediately after that, scraped a draw. And then it was, of course, at Trent Bridge on the final game of the season that we managed a Fidel Edwards-inspired victory to stay up. And we've largely not been in this particular position since. So thinking back to those happier times has kept me going on a day like today. But yeah, thank you for having me on. Absolute pleasure to join.
No, we're thrilled to have you on. And actually, Hampshire been a bit of a bogey team for Notts in recent years. I think it's something like one win in like 215 or something stupid for us against you. Or I have to double check that, but I think last year was the first time in nine. I think one win in nine now, and you always seem to have a bit of the wood over us. I guess when you had Abbott and Abbas there, it was and Keith Barker, it probably felt like you were roaring teams over every day now, every game. I guess it's a different makeup now to the side. Abbott's still there, but the bowling attack's just incredibly different, isn't it?
Yeah, very different. Yeah, we do really miss Keith Barker and Mo Abbas, and obviously it was talked about in the seasons when they were playing together that it wouldn't last forever, etc. And we felt that one or two of them might retire or something like that would happen. But then to go and see Abbas take wickets and help Nottinghamshire to the title last year, and Keith Barker go back to Warwickshire and still perform is rather frustrating with where we find ourselves in. And those years, as much as it was good to watch us take 20 wickets regularly, unfortunately, it probably has had a detrimental impact on where we are now, because it meant that we weren't able to blood the youngsters enough and people that would hopefully be stepping into their shoes once they'd gone. So we're paying the price of those rather successful years at the moment.
Absolutely, but do you still have optimism? I mean, on paper you're not a bad side, and it's not like you're being blown away, is it? You're still competitive in a lot of matches. I mean, you nearly beat Somerset. You were in the game against Essex. Abbott's still the top wicket taker in the country. Lehman and Brown are scoring runs. I mean, do you still think you have the team there to turn things around?
I think it's difficult because effectively with the players you've just named, yeah, they're having good seasons, good performances. But when you're trying to win a game of championship cricket, you need more than 4 or 5 players to perform. We set Essex 177 on Sunday, and I think whilst Essex would always be favourites for that particular chase, Carl Abbott was taking the top 3 wickets very quickly indeed, but unfortunately there was just pressure released at the other end immediately. So we didn't push Essex as hard as we should have with that game. And I think the same with the Somerset match. They chased 287, 8 down. Again, I think we probably needed one spell from one of the Sporting bowlers to get us over the line there. And equally with the batting, I don't feel that if Hampshire had been chasing 287, that they would have managed to do that. So, yeah, we do have to take some comfort, take some hope, optimism that we are sometimes in games, but we aren't in them long enough. And in the championship, if you one bad session, one bad hour, especially at Division 1 level, can be enough to lose you a game. And that's where we are at the minute, that there's glimpses. It's not, from ball one always that we're behind, but bad sessions are particularly costing us. I was looking back over some scorecards, Somerset 180 for 2, trying to set a lead, and then we've only set them to 287, 288, and missed opportunities there. But at the same time, the Essex and the Glamorgan matches at the Bowl have been pretty dismal. Those were games that we were never really in, whereas the away matches, at least, we had chances. And of course, we did convert one of those against Yorkshire at Headingley.
Yeah, your home form's been surprisingly poor. I mean, is there a reason for that? Is it the pitches that's not suiting your players, or
Yeah, the pitches are a big issue. The Somerset pitch was actually a perfect pitch that we had 4 scores between 2:30-ish and 3:40. The game finished midway through the afternoon on the 4th day, and that was a sporting pitch. There was something in it for everyone. And what happened then, that they tried to prepare a pitch the same against Glamorgan at the start of the month, and it looked the same. They felt it was going to play the same way. Glamorgan would have inserted Hampshire if they'd won the toss, but as it was, Ben Brown inserted, and then at the end of the first day, Glamorgan find themselves about 390 for 1. And those pitches, for example, like Kyle Abbott now at home, is not getting the same wickets. I probably should have looked it up, but if you did his figures or analysis for home bowling this year, it would look very strikingly different to his bowling record away this season. So he's finding it difficult, and Liam Dawson as well is another one that's not quite taking the wickets that he was a few years ago. And the big problem with the pitch is that we were deducted points last season for a substandard pitch, and then this year we've got a suspended sentence, so we can't afford to have any more substandard pitches, because that points deduction last year nearly cost us our Division 1 place.
Yeah, so you think that the pitches are just quite sort of batsman friendly, would you say?
Well, I mean, they're quite friendly for the batters if you're in opposition. That we saw Essex make 470 batting first, Glamorgan made 500 and something, and then Hampshire have, been bowled out twice in those games, and we've had innings defeats. So those games, I think we've obviously succumbed to scoreboard pressure to some extent, but the pitches effectively are the same for both teams. So we've had a bad time. If we could have a Somerset pitch, every game, it would make some very interesting cricket, and hopefully we'd come out on the right side of a few low scorers. But the Essex game that we started the season with, and the Glamorgan game, we're just in the field for a day and a half, and then we just crumbled under pressure, and then it's 2 innings wins for our visitors.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Liam Dawson struggling. What's happened to him? 'Cause the last couple of years before this one, he was unbelievable. Probably the best county cricketer in the country, looking at all-round contribution. And this season his form seems to just dived off the cliff. I think I got the stats here. He's averaging 7 with the bat and 53 with the ball. It's just not like him at all.
No, it's a real concern. We can't really put the finger on what's happening. I mean, I've said regularly on the podcast and on the X account that Liam Dawson, for any format, any conditions, would be always my first name on the team sheet. He's got so much credit in the bank that I'm not thinking about I'm not changing my stance on that, but What was interesting is last year that his figures with the ball were not actually that strong. And ironically, that was the season that England finally brought him back into the test side, when perhaps last year's figures didn't deserve it, but they certainly deserved it in the sort of 5 to 10 years prior. And then, the batting this year just not fluent. I was at Chelmsford on Friday watching, and he scored about 6 or 7 off about 50 balls. Just never particularly looked fluent. So I hope it is a blip rather than perhaps the beginning of the end for him. But we'll hope that maybe the change to T20 etc. soon will bring a bit of life back into him, and I hope the same goes for a lot of players that play dual formats.
Absolutely, but there's a lot of young players there, who are, I guess you say, good potential. I mean, Ben Mays, Sonny Baker. I mean, do you think that the talent is there, or is it, Eddie Jackson, another one? I mean, Tom Prest, I know he's not quite got the numbers yet, but do you see the makings of a strong side coming up? Do you think maybe it's just a little bit too soon, or do you think they can turn things around, I suppose, as the season develops?
Yeah, a few different ones there. So, like Tom Prest, for example, is a couple of years ago, sort of 24 season, scored 300s. He's sort of 23 now. So I think it's one of those where we sort of start to need to see his potential. I still think he's worth persevering with. It's far too early to give up on him now in that way. Last year he didn't have a particularly good season, but I was pleased to see him restored at the start of the season. And he's made starts but hasn't been able to go on. So I feel like time's on his side, and I certainly think that he's a player worth backing based on what we saw a couple of years ago. A couple of the others, I feel like Eddie Jack is one of those where it probably is too soon, but giving him more championship appearances so far this year, overs under your belt, Kyle Abbott, etc., bowlers like that didn't get to be as good as they are without bowling. So I'm hoping longer term that Eddie Jack will play a prominent role for Hampshire, but at the same time, he's probably someone that's going to be a little bit in and out of the side for the time being. Sonny Baker, I was really not sure with last season. Wasn't understanding why England were perhaps so keen to fast track him, but he looks like he's really learned over the winter, and the way he's bowled so far has been probably the main positive that Hampshire have seen this year, certainly with the bowling. Hopefully the experience of overs under his belt is really going to benefit him long term. So Sonny Baker I've got high hopes for, but it's potential that if he goes where he thinks he's going to go, or where England think he might go, that he'll be someone that we don't see a lot of.
No, absolutely. I thought when I watched him last year against Notts, he struggled, but seeing him recently, he did look like he developed a lot. Bowling probably a bit fuller, actually, I thought, when I saw him. Do you think that's a fair reflection?
Yeah, he's definitely doing that. And I think he's also learned that you don't, and you certainly in championship cricket, especially this run of 6 games in 7 weeks, that you have to bowl within yourself sometimes, that you're going to be bowling a few spells a day. Kyle Abbott's the perfect person for that it's not just all about the speed, but he's had times at Somerset when we were trying to bowl them out on the 3rd night. That was a night when he was able to run in and bowl as fast as he could, and he really rattled the Somerset top order. And then there's other days when, we're in the field for a long time, you're going to have to show a bit more craft and a bit more skill to work the opposition out. But really, really pleased with the progress he's made. So I hope he's back for the game at the weekend, because he had to sit out the Essex match due to failing a late fitness test.
Absolutely. And, how do you feel going into the game? Do you still sort of feel like you can get a positive result? And is there anyone in particular we've not spoken about we should be keeping an eye out for? Maybe a Cody Youssef or Toby Albert, who Nick Gubbins, who looked like he was in some good form a couple of games ago. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say with Notts coming. Champions played well against us last year, thrashed us at Trent Bridge, and then the game at the Bowl was quite a dull game because it was one of those Kookaburra ones midsummer. It is hard to be optimistic when you look at the Notts lineup, but I'm curious because obviously there's talk of, there's going to be changes this week. So I'm not quite certain what side they're going to put out. The player that everyone is desperate to see stride out on Friday is Ali Orr. So he signed from Sussex a couple of seasons ago. Had a few injuries, so hasn't had a particularly long run in the side in 24 or 25. And he played well in the One Day Cup last summer, finished the championship side or season in possession of an opening position, but didn't exactly score the runs then. But to be fair to him, nobody else really did, what with our poor form and September pitches, etc. And everybody is completely baffled as to why he can't find his way into the 11, especially given his struggles. Now, I don't think that he'll necessarily be the answer. And of course, when the team is struggling, someone out of the side is going to perhaps look better than they actually are. But to me, there feels like nothing to lose by throwing him in, and let's see what he can do. So I hope that Ali Orr starts on Friday, but if they don't start him, then I'm not exactly sure how they would reshuffle perhaps the batting order or the lineup changes. There's a couple of other people they could bring in, but I feel like I've seen enough of those, and I'd rather give Ali Orr the nod and say, go and prove us wrong or right in terms of the selection.
And what are the thoughts on the coaching setup? Obviously, you had a change over the summer. Are fans patient, or are they a bit sort of disgruntled with the way things are developing, I suppose?
Yeah, very disgruntled. I think so. Russell Domingo's arrived from South Africa, replacing A.D. Birrell, who was in the job for 7 years. The trouble with Russell Domingo coming in is that he's job sharing it. So he was coaching out in South Africa, and he only arrived a week before the season. So he hasn't really had the time with the squad or the players that perhaps he should have had. And I think at the minute, most of the sort of disappointment or frustration is directed more towards the director of cricket, which is Giles White, who's been in his post for many years, around his sort of involvement or not in signings, strategy, all that sort of thing. So most of the fire at the minute is aimed Giles White's way, whereas obviously Russell just arriving now, the jury's out, and we hope that he can start to make a positive impact. Last year we didn't play well in the championship, but we were at least drawing games, which was what helped keep us up. Whereas this year we're not playing well and we're losing games. So I think most people are looking Giles White's way, being the person that's sort of overseen these last couple of years of poor performances in the championship.
Interesting. So if I was to give you a prediction for this game and the season, what are you thinking?
I mean, yeah, you don't want to go too early with with relegation. There's 9 games to go. There's still a lot of cricket to be played. And I was thinking back to the 2015 season, as I said in my intro, that things can change. Maybe there is that second overseas player out there that we can get in for June, July, or the back end of the summer that might be the game changer. There is options within the squad. There's not loads, but some of it is just about, players stepping up. We have, as I've said, got into positions at times where we could have possibly won or stayed in the game for longer. So, yeah, I'm not going to say it's relegation certainties, but it's I wouldn't put my nail on any position at the minute. My pre-season prediction was 5th, but that was made when I think we had Michael Nisa was originally going to come as second overseas. Then it was replaced by Jaden Seals, so I was quite hopeful, but unfortunately neither of those could make it. So, yeah, I'm still clinging on to the hope that something can change and perhaps we can scrape 8th again. And the thing that I said in my end of season podcast was I actually gave Notts as my shining example of what to do. That I think in 24 season, Notts finished 8th, and then last year you walked away with the title. So I was hoping that we would make more of the reprieve that we were fortunately handed by Durham, but so far it doesn't seem to be the case.
No, I think we set up right at the end of the season, final game. So, things can change quickly. And as you said, good a bowler Cody Yusuf is, he's not quite Michael Nisa or Jaden Seal standards. So, obviously, to miss on both of those, not ideal. And from a Notts perspective, who are you most concerned about? I think the sound is Ben Duckett won't be playing, but Josh Tongue will. I guess that's probably a bit of a worry.
Oh, undoubtedly. I just look at your entire lineup and just think, this is this is bad. Hamid, Slater, that's an opening partnership that we're crying out for. Some settled openers that can score runs. Yes, you're going to have Duckett missing, but Joe Clark's in the runs this season, isn't he? Lyndon James, I think, scored decent runs last year. Ollie Stone, Josh Tongue, etc. I fear the whole lineup really. It's not easy to win a championship, and Notts were very well deserving winners last year, and you're surely going to be close again this year. Yeah,
and I guess obviously might need Tongue or Stone, because I guess you're saying it might be quite a decent batting deck potentially. It might be one of those where it might take a bit of work to get through 20 wickets, I suppose.
Yeah, without sort of being too much of a doom monger, I feel like the Notts attack has just got that little bit more consistency that you can put pressure on from both ends, whereas at the minute Hampshire aren't really able to do that. That too often there seems like there's a 4-ball every over, and we just can't really do anything with that. And then you Notts have got the batting lineup to take advantage of that. That if we don't perform, we might, or hopefully have Baker back. If Baker and Abbott can bowl together in tandem a bit more, there's pressure. But equally, as soon as they come off, the pressure could be released again. So, yeah, I do worry for Friday. I'll be looking to attend on the Saturday, and we always turn up to cricket because you just never know what's going to happen. Nothing will stop me being there, but it's difficult to feel optimistic at the moment.
As you said, 2015 gives you hope, and that final game, it was Notts you beat to stay up, so good memories. And Fidel Edwards has averaged 18 with the ball against Notts in his career, so one of those bowlers who always did well. And I mentioned Kyle Abbott, he averages 18 against Notts, striking on average every 6 overs. So, there are reasons to be hopeful, I suppose. You know, as you say, you never know, and I guess we haven't lost for a while, so I guess we're due a defeat. I think it's one loss in about 23 or something for us. So I suppose one's come any time, couldn't it? So
Yeah, well, it's like with Hampshire that they've lost 4 already this season, whereas the 24 and 25 season combined, we only lost 4 out of those 28 matches. And unfortunately for us, losing has become a habit. But hopefully we can break it this weekend. And even if we scrape a draw, I'll actually, take that, and hopefully we can go into the T20. The dual format players can get a bit of love, win a few games, get a bit of confidence back, and then the June, July matches, hopefully we'll have a rejuvenated side. But who knows? Maybe it has to get worse before it gets better, and Notts could be the team to make it worse for us.
Yeah, well, from our perspective, fingers crossed. But obviously, we're wishing you the best, if not for Friday, then at least for the rest of the season. Ian, thank you very much for joining us. And for everyone who's been listening, we have an interview out now with the father of Liam Patterson-White. You can listen to with that. And we've got plenty on the Substack as well, plenty of Notts Hampshire content coming out. So please do check us out on there. And we'll be back again, hoping to do one next week to look over the first 6 rounds of the CAN Championship and to preview the T20 Blast as well. So take care to everyone who's listened, and we'll be back again soon.